You get 10 seconds to experience what it's like to be in a human body on Earth. Okay. You don't get to choose what that 10 seconds will be like. Maybe it'll be super awesome and like euphoric. Maybe it'll be like down in the dumps, but do you still want it? You're like, yeah, I want it. I want to know what 10 seconds is like. We're like, are you sure? Yeah. Okay. Boom. Let's imagine you drop into that place, right? Don't you think your experience of those thoughts and emotions would be a little different?
Yeah. Like it'd be exciting. It'd be like,
Isn't
what
that weird?
in the heck is like these emotions that they never really got to experience before? Yeah.
It would just be it'd just be like, in other words, you would appreciate it. That's changing your relationship with your mind.
Okay, brother.
Did it, man?
You're back on the podcast. Good to have you. Stratton, you're a stud. We had it a phenomenal. This was like a month ago. Feels like it was actually a while ago, but
Yeah,
it's just a month ago. So we had you on the episode. We talked about how to feel your best while selling. And it's a real almost irony a little bit, because when you're knocking doors, it sometimes can feel like the worst job in the world, right? Like you are just grinding. Everyone talks about you're grinding, you're gritty, you're just focused, you're putting in the work. And how do you change that mindset of going from just putting your head down, putting in the hours, to like enjoying it and feeling good, like having fun while you're doing the job? We talked a lot about, I would say, like, I would think it was like the psychology of how it works, but we didn't go into the mechanics. And for those who listen to episodes, they know I'm all about step by steps. Like you do this one thing and it does this, and like 7 tips to helping you here or whatever. We're going to go into a little bit more of that today, I hope, of the mechanics of how to help a rep who is maybe struggling. Like maybe let's start with that. Like what would this episode, who would you call out in this episode? Who is this episode really dedicated to?
Yeah, I would say any rep, whether you're a regional in your company, whether you're an owner, or whether you're a first year rookie, but I would truly say any rep that experiences a roller coaster inside, that experiences, some days they're feeling really good, they're feeling happy, and then other days they're stressed or down in the dumps. Like if you notice that your mood or your state is really being affected, then I would say this episode is for you, because it's about how you can get more space from those thoughts and emotions, from that I like to call it our emotional drama. And I've seen it be just as helpful for a regional of 150 dudes to a first year rookie, because at the end of the day, we're working with the same thing.
You're calling out a guy in my head right now. So someone who I'd reached out to, and it texted me this thing. It was really unique. He's like, I sold bagel today. It sucked. I was really frustrated. He's like, but the problem is there's days I'll sell 4 and I still feel frustrated. I don't feel fulfilled. I'm not happy. And he's like, and I'm not saying I'm not happy, but he's like, there's still like it in the moment it's fun. But then when I go home, I'm driving home, I'm not really that happy with my day. So I'm thinking about that guy right now. Honestly, I tried to give him some thoughts, but I didn't really have anything powerful to add for him, because in the end, I was like, dude, all I told him, I was like, in the end, I think you're thinking too much about yourself and you start thinking about others. That's what I told him.
Totally.
And because I couldn't think of, like, when you're struggling to be happy and you're in this place where you're bageling, you're selling 4, and it doesn't matter, at the end of the day, you still feel like unfulfilled.
Yeah.
What would make why are they feeling that way, and how can they not feel that way? Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. That was the only thing I could think of. I'm curious what your thoughts are. If that guy was sitting right here with us, what would we say to him? No?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Well, first of all, I think what you just said is really how we could set it up and dedicate it. Like, this episode is for anybody that is having times where they're not feeling happy, not feeling totally fulfilled. Mm-hmm. Like if that's part of your experience in door to door, then this is for you. And the cool thing is everything, like all that we'll talk about, relates directly to life, right? Like we're talking about sales, but if you apply this in sales, it'll make it that much easier for you to feel happier and more fulfilled just in life in general. So yeah, your question of, okay, if I had that guy right here that's like, hey, even when I sell 4 accounts, I'm still feeling unhappy or unfulfilled. So the first thing that we would do that we'd look at is what we talked about last episode, which is we would come to an understanding and an awareness that what we're really dealing with here is his mind, right? His thoughts and his emotions. And he's just noticing what they happen to be doing in different circumstances.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing we do, because as long as he is identified with that, as long as he's identified with, if he's believing that he is, choosing those thoughts and it's him doing that, then we have a problem because there's nothing he can't get out of that reality. But if we can help him realize that he's not choosing consciously to feel unfulfilled. Does that make sense? Like if we asked him, hey, when you're driving home after you sold 4, are you sitting there going, I just really want to feel unfulfilled right now. I want to think that I should have done more. It's like, no, he's not choosing that. And that tells us something. That tells us something really important, that there's these thoughts and emotions happening and he is noticing them to a degree. But if we can turn that dial up some more notches to the point where he's conscious enough to be driving and to notice, oh, here's a thought that I should have sold more today. Oh, that's funny. Just lets it go by, right? Or here's an emotion of maybe feeling small, feeling insecure, feeling maybe it's scarcity, right? Like maybe he doesn't care so much about how other people sold, but for him, it's like, man, I needed more to pay the bills, right? Whatever that is, if he could be conscious enough just to recognize them as that, as chemical and neural reactions happening in his body, and he gets the freaking amazing experience of just noticing that.
Yeah.
Like think of it from that perspective. If every time we were in a funk, if we shifted to this perspective of like almost imagining that you just got dropped into this body, like for the first time, and you're just experiencing everything that it's telling you. So you're experiencing those thoughts, you're experiencing, those uncomfortable emotions. But if that was like, let's say, just imagine with me,
Sure,
that wherever you came from before, right? Everyone has different ideas on that. But let's say that you were told you're going to have 10 seconds. That's it. You get 10 seconds to experience what it's like to be in a human body on Earth. Okay. You don't get to choose what that 10 seconds will be like. Maybe it'll be super awesome and like euphoric. Maybe it'll be like down in the dumps, but do you still want it? And you're like, yeah, I want it. I want to know what 10 seconds is like. They're like, are you sure? Yeah. Okay. Boom. Let's imagine you drop into that place, right? Don't you think your experience of those thoughts and emotions would be a little different?
Yeah. Like it'd be exciting. It'd be like,
Isn't
what
that weird?
in the heck is like these emotions that they never really got to experience before? Yeah. That's a cool way to think.
It would just be it'd just be like, in other words, you would appreciate it. That's changing your relationship with your mind, right? That guy just changed it from being lost in it, totally absorbed in that story that I should have sold more. I feel like an idiot. And even beyond like recognizing that, oh, my mind's doing this and I wish I could just shut it up. That next level is like, my mind is thinking these thoughts and having these feelings, and I can even appreciate that. Like how wild to experience that flavor and just let that go. Totally different experience. Those thoughts and feelings are still there. Like notice we didn't change that. The only thing that changed is how he was relating to them. So that's the first thing.
Dude, that's baller. That is so good. Okay, first thing, keep going.
Okay. So, and that's what we talked about last time, right? Like you can change your relationship with your mind. So we can talk a little bit, a couple of directions we can go here. Choose your own adventure. One is we could go into how, like specifics for how that guy could start practicing this.
Okay.
Or we could go into more psychology and understanding about why he's feeling unfulfilled in those times.
Let's go more how, but before we go how, give me like, because I feel like the psychology of why we talked, I feel like that's kind of what we talked about last time, or maybe correct me if I'm wrong, maybe we didn't, but like give me like just that 2-3 minute version of like that feeling, and then let's go more into the mechanics. How do we stop this, like not stop, but how do we learn to maybe accept it and be okay with it and be satisfied, feel good with the place that we're at in our sales journey, right?
Cool.
But maybe give it a quick psychology. And I just keep thinking in my head, like when you're talking about everyone can go and experience the same thing and have a different interpretation of how it went. You could go to the exact same concert, you could go to the exact same whatever, and one person can have just loved it and the other person's like, this was the worst, this was terrible, they didn't sing, they were out of tune, and it doesn't matter, and it really just comes down to your outlook. And I guess the question is how, I think what you're saying is it doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad. Like if the person who had a bad experience, it's not necessarily that that's terrible,
Yeah.
or the person who had a great experience that that's better.
Yeah.
It's just they both had their own experiences. But I would say in most cases, people want to feel good. People
Right.
want to go to a concert and love. They want to go to an event and like love the experience. They don't want to go somewhere to like not enjoy it. How do we get more of the enjoyment like aspects, but still be okay with the the bad, like, this wasn't what I was hoping for, but it's not going to ruin my day. It's not going to ruin my week.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah. No, that's a bomb analogy. I'm going to use the concert analogy.
Okay.
You said that and I was like, whoa, this is perfect. Okay. So if we are living on a mind level, then whatever our mind, however it interprets that concert experience, will dictate our experience. Because when we're living on a mind level, we are just taking, it's almost like whatever thought our mind thinks, we take that as gospel truth. So it says, they're singing off key. This sucks. I want my money back. If there is no awareness in that moment that like, I'm here in this present moment and I'm noticing this thought, if that's not there, then all there is that thought, and that's our reality. So our reality inside will be, they're singing off key, this sucks, I want my money back, right? And that'll be our whole experience. But when and I know like it's so subtle here that for people listening, it's like you can almost miss it if you don't like really listen to this. But the subtle difference is if there's that awareness that I'm in here, I'm at this concert, and this voice in my head is telling me that they're singing off key and I should get a refund. Just by noticing that, you now have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to attach to that thought, to give it your energy and your attention. Yeah, this sucks. Why'd I pay for this? Right? Or you could literally just laugh at, oh my gosh, the crazy things that my brain can come up with. But you just let that thought go. And instead, you could choose to go, I'm just going to appreciate this moment right here and the fact that I'm at this concert. Right? I'm going to appreciate, or it could be, I'm going to appreciate that this person is giving the best that they can in this performance. See, so like your brain can still have its story that it wants you to believe or think, but you don't have to buy into that. And so like I really try to share with people that it doesn't actually matter what's happening on like a mental or emotional level. It matters more how we're relating to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can I clarify a little bit?
Yeah. I think what you said is, you said you don't have to buy into what your mind is saying.
Yes.
Like that phrase right there was really, it's like you would assume like what I'm thinking is me.
Yep.
But you're making it sound like you is separate than the mind.
Yes.
Like I don't have to buy into what my mind is saying. So for the reps, kind of pull us back to door to door, back to the sales world.
Yep.
So for the rep struggling, like we're in a midsummer right now. I know there's people going through a slump right now. People who are struggling. I keep hearing it.
Yeah.
And like my own team, like going through their own struggles.
Yeah.
And I'm like trying to figure out how to like, get them motivated. Is it the competitions? Is it incentives? Is it, firing up, have better meetings in the morning? What is it in the end that's going to get them going? They're in a slump. So how do you get like interpret that slump as not me?
Yeah.
And it's like just that mindset, like my mind says I'm in a slump, but I don't have to buy into that. I don't have to accept that I'm not selling as good as I am. I don't know. Does that make sense?
It totally does. Yes. So how you can actually start to recognize that, that's not me. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So the first thing is just to have the intellectual concept or understanding that we're talking about, that like, because for the first time you hear that idea that, hey, did you know you're not your mind? You're not your thoughts and emotions. That's a little jarring because no one talks about that. Yeah. Right. I grew up my whole life thinking that, nope, every thought I have is me. I am the thinker. And it took a lot of time of watching Stratton, of observing my mind and my thoughts and emotions to realize that no, I am not. Yeah. Because when I meditate, I like to call it practicing stillness. We can talk about that. We will, because it's part of how. But when I'm meditating, I am very aware that my only intention for this 15-minute timer or whatever timer I've set is to be present. My only intention is just to observe what's happening. I'm not choosing to think any thoughts. And yet my mind is going crazy. It's going 100 miles an hour thinking about this and that. Did I call this person? What about this client? What about that? Is this person going to buy? All these thoughts. I'm not thinking those in that moment. And so the more I practice that, the more I realize it's like I'm talking about on a soul level. The more you practice this, the more you realize on a soul level that it's just this simple realization that I'm thinking those thoughts. I'm not choosing these emotions. Like they are just happening. So for the guy in the slump, the first thing I would do is I would say, are you choosing to be in a slump? Like, are you choosing to have the thoughts and emotions that are creating that experience? I've never had anyone say, yes, I'm choosing that.
Step one, are you choosing? That's step one.
Just realize,
Okay.
are you choosing that? No, you're not choosing that. Okay. That gives you enough of it, it shifts you enough to go, something's happening in here that I'm not choosing. And that can kind of awaken some energy of like, well, I want to do something, right? At least for me, when, in the last episode, I talked about kind of my story of battling my own mental and emotional demons.
Yeah.
And I talked about how, like, when I first realized this, that like, I'm not choosing this anxiety or these panic attacks to rule my life. There was this energy, again, it was like on that soul level, that was like, I want to be free of this.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to break through this barrier to me living from the highest place that I can on the short time I get on earth. Right. And I think for that guy, once you realize that, yeah, you're not choosing to be in that slump, it's happening to you. And right now you're in bondage to that, right? You're shackled by the reality your mind's creating, but you don't have to be. So step 2, after you realize you're not choosing it, is, okay, now it's time to get some freedom. And freedom, I want to reiterate this part, even though I think we touched on it last episode. Freedom is not changing your mind. It's not going to, turning to like 2 hours of affirmations every day and trying to like catch every negative thought, change it to a positive one. That's not freedom, because as soon as your mind, something happens that makes it go back to a negative place again, guess what? You're in the same spot, right? So if the only level we work on is like, let's make your mind more positive, you're still conditional to where your mind's at. So what I think is a lot more helpful, and by the way, I'm all for positive thinking, and like, yes, it is helpful to like think from the highest perspective we can. But first, I would say to the guy, now that you're aware you're not choosing it, let's help you practice being free or being at peace inside, regardless of what it's telling you. So what I would do is I would have this guy practice what I call stillness. And I use that word because meditation is way too loaded and it turns a lot of people off when they hear about it. And the sad thing is it turns them off because they've been taught that meditation is about quieting your mind. It's about focusing on your breath and not getting distracted. And eventually everyone realizes that you can't quiet your mind. Your mind is literally programmed for your survival and to think about anything that could get in the way of that. So like, you can't shut it off, but you can learn not to care as much about what it's saying. You can learn to appreciate what it's doing and even laugh at it instead of buying into it, right? So what I would tell this guy is I'd say, all right, I want you to sit still for 5 minutes. And that means you're just going to sit comfortably. You're going to close your eyes. Your only job for the next 5 minutes is just observe what's happening inside. So there's one question I'm going to ask you at the end of the 5 minutes, and that is, what did you notice? Does not matter what answer you give. Like, there's no positive and negative. There's no good or bad. There's just what was happening. And if a guy can tell me after that 5 minutes, which everybody can, if they can tell me what they noticed, they've won. Because that shows them that they were the one that was observing all this different stuff happening. It could be physical, right? Like an itch happened. Could be emotional. Like maybe they felt a twinge of like fear, of like, maybe it's early in the day and I haven't sold yet, right? So they felt that. Or maybe they noticed some of those thoughts of like, oh, I wonder what, Jared is at in the office, the guy I'm competing with. But if they can tell me after that 5 minutes, yeah, I noticed my mind think about Jared and what sales he was at. Or I noticed feeling a little anxious about if I'm going to sell today. We don't have to get into, shoot, dude, you're feeling anxious? Try this tool. Let's get rid of that. No, we don't have to do that. We can, but all I need him to know is like, okay, so were you choosing that? No, I wasn't choosing that. Okay, it was just happening. We can get into why that's happening. That's what psychology is the study of. Mm-hmm. Like, I could sit down with any guy, and if we had the ability to go through his entire life movie, right, all the events, all the things he's ever learned, we could understand exactly why that anxiety came up in that moment. That's his conditioning. His past conditioned him to have that feeling in this environment. That's psychology. So what I'm much more interested in than why I'm feeling anxious or how do I get rid of it is No, can you be okay even when that anxiety's there? Even though there's anxiety, can you just observe that, appreciate that, and still get out and give your best on the doors today? Can you just give that anxiety space to be there? Because what I would offer to that guy also is that, and any psychology will show you this, biology will show you this, if you give that emotional energy space, it processes all on its own. Your body knows exactly how to heal and release that kind of energy. The thing that stops it is us getting in the way, either pushing it down or trying to like, dig into why am I feeling anxious? Like all that stuff, it actually gets in the way of our body just naturally releasing those unhelpful energies. So I know it's a lot, but before I ping it to you, I would just say this. I would help him have that experience of observing it. And then I would just help him, if that anxiety was there, I would help him just practice being okay with it. So instead of like pushing it away, I would actually say, tell me where you're noticing that in your body. Okay, I'm noticing my stomach. Imagine it's at a 5 right now. I want you to turn that dial to a 9 or a 10. Just turn it up. Like just tell that feeling, bring it on. You're welcome to come full force. And it will, right? And sometimes that freaks guys out because it's like, whoa, I don't want to feel it more. That's the problem, right? Is that we've learned that we don't want to feel certain things. Freedom is being able to feel. Well, first, it's being aware of what's happening and then being able to fully feel it, fully face it without buying into it. So I'd help him do that. And after that experience, I would say, okay, you just became aware of anxiety. You then turned that dial up. So you faced it even more. And now a few minutes have gone by. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Okay. So you just totally face that feeling. Same could be with your mind, right? Like if your mind's having negative thoughts, I'd say, turn it up. Tell it to give you even more, like crank it up a little bit, right? And when I do that, the funny thing is almost inevitably, everyone starts laughing. At a certain point, they start laughing because they realize like, it's so funny, all these negative thoughts that my mind can have.
Yeah.
And the laugh, it's not like it's like this deeper soul level laugh that's just like, dude, like, holy shit, it's part of my French, but it's like, I don't have to listen to this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I'll ping it back to you.
Yeah, I've had a lot of thoughts as you've been talking. Most have just been like thinking of, there's like 2 things I thought about. One that just keeps coming to my brain, like the conditioning at your brain. Sometimes I just keep thinking more and more about you're not what your thoughts are. You're not your mindset. You're not your brain. You're not what your brain's telling you. I just keep thinking about that. And then the phrase you said it, your conditioning is what oftentimes is what is making you feel that way. Because I think a lot of times it's like, well, it's my environment. It's this, it's happening. Sometimes it's environment affects it, absolutely. But sometimes it's just the condition like that happened prior to this whole happening. And I just keep thinking of this. It's on Netflix. There's this magician. I cannot remember. It's like Magic for Humans, I think. Have you seen that before?
I think so.
Dude, this guy's awesome. I've loved it. It has been a long time since I've even watched this. But somehow I just kept thinking about this, and I'll just share it real quick.
Yeah.
There's this one episode where he takes us like 4 people, and they go into this kind of like museum thing. I don't know if it's like an ice cream museum or something. And he is like, okay, I want you guys to take. He like does this whole pitch with them. He like says this whole thing. I want you guys to do this thing. And he strategically used certain words and emphasized certain things. Like you didn't listen to it at all. Like you didn't pay attention. The first time you go through it, it's just him giving this little spiel. He's like, but I want you to go take this item and you're going to go anywhere into this museum. And I want you to take a selfie of that. And I think actually they didn't even have to choose that. And they could choose any item and they could go anywhere in the museum and they could take a picture. And he wanted them to come back and show the selfie of what they did. All 4 or 5 of them, whatever, they go out, they do their photos, gives them like 10, 15 minutes. They come back, and all of a sudden he just starts, but he's like, I don't want you to show me your selfie. I want you to just like, tell me if you used this item. And all of them raise their hand. And they all like look at each other like, what the freak? And then he's like, tell me if you went into this room to take the photo. And they all raise their hand. And he's like, tell me if you went onto the swing that when you were inside this room. All of them raised that. Anyways, he goes on to show, and they all flip their like the selfies around. They all were on the same spot. They're all on the swing. They all had this thing. They like had it in their mouth, and they like all had the selfie of them doing this up there.
That is
And then
trippy.
and then he says, and then I just to make it like a step level higher, he's like, I came here a week before and I did my own selfie, and he like showed his own selfie, and he was doing the exact same like photo, and it was really like, you know, magic.
Yeah.
Kind of like one of those things, but it was like how, and he just went on to say, this was not magic, this was the power of psychology, and like my like the words, like I can manipulate honestly what you do without you even knowing that I did it. Crazy, right? And so when this whole thing you've been talking about thinking your thoughts and how does that like you're not your thoughts, it's like I just kept thinking about that. It's like you can be manipulated without you even knowing it, and it has to do with your conditioning, it has to do with, you know, previous context, you know, this person telling you all this stuff, and then in the back of your head somehow it makes a story that you didn't even know you weren't necessarily choosing. And so anyways, crazy experience, right? And that happens. I think it's just important to understand, as awesome as you think you are, we're all being somehow manipulated in a way, and we're all being, our conditioning has a huge effect on the way we feel. So if you're feeling down, if you're feeling a little bit of that frustration, it's kind of thinking of that story of like, this really wasn't my choosing in a way. It's kind of like these things happened, and you can just accept that, you know, it happened and I'm okay with that. And or you could choose to be like mad about it and just like, I didn't have complete control like I thought I had, and I thought I was the one doing this all, but all you need is that magician to kind of go and show you from the corners, like I actually literally orchestrated this whole thing. Like I literally made you do, I took just the words I said made you do exactly what I wanted you to do. Even though I told you had complete freedom to go anywhere and do whatever you wanted. Right?
Dude, no, that, I love that.
Crazy
story.
I just kept thinking of that. It's like, dude, this is like what you're saying in a way of like, but I think the important thing is I still kind of want to go into like the process of like I understand, but no one wants to feel controlled. No one wants to feel like their minds are the ones that are telling them. And even if they can accept the fact that their mind is there doing its thing, what can a rep do to not just accept it, but and then maybe have tools to help them? Maybe they can be the magician, right? They can be the one who's orchestrating this a little bit more, instead of just accepting the fact that there's some orchestrator out in the boondocks doing his thing and I have no control. Like I personally don't believe in that at all. I just believe like we're agents to act for ourselves. We have the ability to act. Yes, there's things that are out of our control, but in the end, we are the ones who have that control. And so what are the tools of, once you've accepted that this is not you, once you've accepted that it's okay, like you're not choosing this, but you're feeling it anyways, and you could handle the most extreme version of it and you're going to be okay. Well, once we've accepted that, how do we get to the point where maybe we don't have to do that test as often, right? We can do that if we have to, but man, it'd be a lot more fun if I could like maybe avoid those moments where I'm feeling the tens and then feeling that anxiety. How do we get to that point?
The funny thing is, so just my honest take is, the way you get to that point is you completely abandon the hope of getting to that point. And that's not what your brain wants to hear, because your brain is literally programmed to always gravitate towards, how can I be more comfortable? How can life feel better? How can I have more of the positive, less of the negative? But what I offer is that is the paradigm that keeps us trapped. It's the paradigm, it's on a mind level where we're saying, how can I get the things I want and avoid the things I don't want, right? So the first step, in my experience, is you fully acknowledge and fully accept that you do not have any control of your thoughts and emotions, that they can just happen on a whim. You're not controlling them. They're happening to you. But to your point, you have total control over how you relate and respond to those. You are the agent in there. It's just a subtle shift. But it's realizing that just like we don't have control over the weather, that's based on meteorological, is that how you say it? Meteorological?
You know,
Definitely not. It sounds
I liked it. So we'll go with that.
It's based on all the weather patterns that have ever happened before, right? They've conditioned the weather to be the way it is today, right? We don't control how a plant grows in the soil. Everything that's happened in that soil before conditioned it to be the way that it is today, how that plant will grow, right? It's just taking this a layer deeper on the inside and realizing that the same is true for my brain and my nervous system, or my thoughts and emotions. The only reason certain thoughts or emotions are happening in a particular environment is because of everything that this brain and nervous system have been through up until this point, right? Going back to your concert analogy, only reason two people could have a different experience is because they've had two different sets of conditioning. They've lived two different lives. They've had different experiences of music, right? Maybe one was trained to hear someone singing off key. I am not. I sing off key. So I'd be there and be rocking out, right? I wouldn't even know. Only thing that's different between me and that person is our conditioning. So you first have to come, it's going back to that step one of realizing that I'm not choosing this. Like I am living with this conditioned person in here and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's kind of like you were looking at it where you just say, it is what it is, right? Just the way my body grew the way it did was conditioned by all the forces of nature, right? I didn't choose to be 6'2" and like this build. Like it just happened. That makes it sound like I'm like, when I say this build, like I'm some buff dude. If you can't see me, you'd realize I could blow away in the wind.
Yeah, whatever.
But my point is like, it's just taking that a layer deeper. And you fully embrace that I'm not choosing all of my thoughts and emotions. They are just my past conditioning. Well, that right there changes the game. Because now when you're in a funk, when you're feeling unfulfilled, when you're feeling, I had just one the other day where I was afraid of my wife. You know, I told her I'd be home at a certain time.
You're afraid of your wife?
Afraid of my wife.
Yeah,
right?
that's
and I'm just conditioned.
That's pretty normal. I have no control over that.
That's actually, no, yeah. But I was supposed to be home at a certain time to help get the family ready for church. I love going to church on Sundays. And, you know, I was going to be late. And immediately, and the funny thing is I'm on this hike. I'm in like this peaceful meadow. There's birds chirping and all this. And, you know, from an outside view, like, there should be nothing going on other than just peace, bro, right? And that's the opposite of my experience. I'm feeling, you know, my mind is just thinking about, oh, shoot, man, you know, is she going to be upset? Like, I'm going to have to explain what happened. And, you know, then I have these emotions of like, kind of like that clenching up of like, oh, I don't want to disappoint. And then I became aware, right? Because, dude, I'm going to process too. Like, I'm practicing what I preach. And so I became aware that that was happening. And I reminded myself that, oh, that's right. This is just my conditioning. It's all it is. It's all that's happening in this moment on a planet, floating in this massive, amazing universe, experiencing these thoughts and emotions, experiencing the conditioning in this body right now. Wow. Okay. That's kind of cool. Right? Totally shifted it. And then I had this little conversation with Stratton. See, so there is a time and place to work with your brain. And I just had that conversation where I was like, hey, man, worst case scenario, what is it? My brain is immediately, well, she's going to be pissed and da-da-da-da. Right. And it, of course, blows it like way out of proportion, probably makes my wife sound like some crazy.
No.
That she would respond at a level 1. My brain's afraid of the level 10. Right. But it had this whole scenario. And I went, okay, worst case, if that happens, can we handle that? Can we handle how we will feel if she is level 10 disappointed? Because that's really the only reason I wouldn't want her to be disappointed is because of how it will make me feel. It's the only reason. Because if we could change how I'd feel and I'd feel a level 10 ecstasy, I'd be trying to disappoint her. So the only reason I don't want to is because of how it makes me feel. Well, if I can be okay with how that would make me feel, if I can just handle that conditioning in my body, those emotions until they pass, okay, worst case scenario is manageable, right? All right, worst case, I'll have to sit with some uncomfortable feelings for a little bit. Can I do that? Yeah. So I was able to let that go, enjoy being in the meadow, right? Each time my brain was once again worried about that scenario, I would just gently remind it that like, hey, worst case, we can handle it. And the funny thing is, I totally had enough time to get back. I ended up getting back in time. So thank goodness I didn't go down that rabbit hole my brain was trying to go down. And I was even able to go at a slower pace just to enjoy the rest of the hike. So like, just as an example that like, you know, no matter what story or experience we're having because of our conditioning, if we can start to observe it and get some space from it, it can really change the actions we take. It can change our experience of that moment, right? Like the rest of my time in that meadow could have been really heavy and just, ugh, right? But instead, it was what it was meant to be, which was just me being in a meadow, like enjoying that, right? So I think for the guy though, that's like, okay, but the steps, man, like how, right? First thing I do with guys is I say, you need to set up your pregame and your postgame. So in the morning and in the evening, you need formal, dedicated time to practicing stillness every day, no matter what. So I say, stick with the plan, not with your mood. Because your brain hates stillness. It's so boring. Where's the dopamine? Where's the stimulation, right? There's none. And that's the point. So you sit still. I recommend starting for 5 minutes. So ideally, it'd be 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. Totally fine if guys want to start shorter, right? But I think, becoming free of your past conditioning, 10 minutes a day is a pretty worthwhile investment. And so for 5 minutes, you literally just watch what's happening inside. You're not trying to change it. You're not trying to have a certain experience, right? Like, oh, it didn't make me feel better. You missed the point. The point wasn't to change how you're feeling. It was to realize that you're the one observing how you're feeling. Some days you'll observe feeling peace, feeling like profound peace and happiness. It's really cool when that happens. And a lot of guys experience that from time to time. But sometimes you experience complete anxiety, complete frustration, or, however your past conditioning is reacting to something. You're just experiencing that. But the reason you do that every day is so that in the background of your life, you're growing your connection to that soul level that can just say, I'm aware that this is how my thoughts and emotions are reacting. So that's pregame, postgame, middle of the day. So for the door-to-door reps, what I have all my clients do, well, first I have them commit to do that stillness practice morning and evening for 30 days. I call it the 30-day stillness challenge. And I say, try it for 30 days. You tell me after if it was worth it or not, and if you want to continue. I've never had anyone say it wasn't worth it, and never had anyone say, I don't want to do that anymore. After the 30 days, everyone is like, so I'm selling better, I'm feeling better, my marriage is better. Like, okay, I'm going to keep doing it. So then the way you can increase the results is during the day, have as many opportunities as you can to practice being still. So first off, your indicator light is when you notice that you're in a negative state. When you're feeling some type of way, that's your warning light that, time to pause for a minute or two and just observe what's going on. Just get some space. The other time is, for some guys, I recommend setting a timer. Could be for 30 minutes, could be for an hour. And just throughout the day, every time that timer goes off, you take 1 minute to be still. Just be in the present moment, check in, observe what's happening, just watch it. At the end, you can practice anything you want, to help you be in a more positive place. But if any rep does that, like those are the steps. If they set up the pregame and postgame practice, and then they build in times throughout the day that they're practicing this, a momentum will start to build in their life on a vertical level that will just take them deeper and deeper and deeper into their soul, into who they are. And the thoughts and emotions just will not have the same hold that they used to.
Mm-hmm.
That help?
That's blow mine. Yeah. I'm trying to envision me doing this because I still am out there knocking doors. And so I'm just envisioning myself trying to do this. I think the morning, the pregame, postgame, that's money.
Yeah.
Really hard for me, the idea of pausing during the day.
That's always the hardest part.
The way I work is so it's like a switch that when my switch is on, I don't take phone calls. I don't take texts. I'm just dialed. And so I'm almost wondering because you're saying what it's doing is it's building out my connection with me, my soul, my spirit. I'm able to connect better there. And by having that better connection, it will allow me to, because this is really tailored to the guy is this only for, I guess that's the question. Is this only for the guy who's struggling? Maybe he's oh man, I'm just not happy, or I'm in a funk, or is this for the guy who's just, doing a hard job, This is a hard job, but I'm not necessarily in a point of, Like,
Yeah, I'm not about to go home.
I'm not about to go home. I'm just doing my job. It's frustrating at times. People are stupid and you get the door shut on you sometimes. Like, it's kind of part of the job. I guess, when do I need to be doing this? Should I always be doing this? And or is there a time when like, I don't need to do this? I don't know. You tell me.
So, no, it's a super fair and honest question. And it's one I get a lot because one of the hardest things, especially for the high performers and for those that have done it for a while, or those that just have a very like hardcore work ethic, that's the exact question that comes up, right? It's like,
Yeah.
do I really have to do it during the day?
Do I really need this?
And the true answer is like, no, you don't have to. Like,
Yeah.
do whatever works for you, right? That's the honest answer. For you, maybe a approach that feels more authentic or organic is whenever something does happen that causes you to notice, I'm in a state of stress right now, or I'm in a, like, anytime you're in a negative state. Okay, that's a great, like, maybe that's your way of practicing it is, oh, hey, instead of just, going with my normal approach and just plowing through this, let me pause. Let me see what happens if I just observe this, right? And what I'd offer, go ahead.
When you pause, do you like, are you sitting down? Like, are you on a curb sitting there? Are you standing there in the shade? Are you,
Totally.
what are you doing?
I recommend the lotus position where you got, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
On the curb. That's a good way to get the cops called on you
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
No, so the way that
Are you walking still? Like,
yeah, the way that I practice, I think the best practice is, especially during the day, the best way to practice is just practicing so that we can do this the rest of our life. It's not realistic to be able to go and sit down for 2 minutes, like we're dads. I mean, sometimes you can't. Like, if you're the only one watching your kid, you can't just go take a break, right? So I think the best practice is learning how to do this while we're in the motions. But to do that, first we need to have a really solid foundation. That's what pregame and postgame are for. And then during the day, you could do it sitting down. You can go find a shady spot, set a little timer. Guys do that all the time. You could do it standing up. Like what I used to do, I would walk off the door, and let's say something had happened that, maybe they made me feel stupid or they made me feel annoying, right? And that would get to me sometimes, especially if that had been 20 doors in a row. I'd walk off that door, and before I went to the next one, I would pause, I would look up at the sky, and, that way if people looked at me, they'd just be like, oh, he's just like looking at the sky. But they wouldn't think anything else. I'd just look at the sky, and I'd kind of just let my eye, I'd focus my attention inward. And I would just notice, like, what's happening emotionally right now. And I would just see if I could kind of note to myself, like, I'm feeling annoying. I'm feeling unwanted. Like, oh yeah, I feel small, right? You don't have to know exactly what it is. It's enough just to know that I feel something in here. Like there's a lot of energy. But I would do that, and I'd notice what my brain was saying, right? Maybe my brain was just like, my brain's saying this is stupid. I should just call it for today. Just notice that. See, because the difference is guys listen to that. That's where they go to their car and they drive home, right? All that happened is they just listened to how their brain reacted to that situation. So what I'm offering is that 1 to 2 minute pause helps me be the agent. It helps me take inventory of what my conditioning's telling me emotionally, that I'm in threat right now, right? I'm going to get kicked out of my herd because these people don't like me. Well, good that I can recognize I don't need to listen to that because I don't live in a tribe anymore. That's just my programming. I'm actually fine if the whole neighborhood hates me, right? Oh, so that's helpful to realize. Then mentally, I should call this quits. Well, would that really be in alignment with why I'm out here? Or is my why to push, to keep going regardless of how people treat me? Like, because I'm picturing my little boy, and I don't give a crap what they think. Like, I'm here to work for him, right? Mm-hmm. So, do you see what I mean? Like that little pause.
Love that. That was my favorite thing you've said all day right there.
What was it?
It was just perfect. It's just like that. I think that's what resonated with me, because if everyone, I think, has heard different things at this point, but because I think I'm really big on go, go, go. Yeah. I'm really big on, kind of, you said, like, maybe I'm just like the go-getter, hardcore work ethic. Like, I don't accept laziness. I don't accept like the whole thing of like, oh, like, you just got to accept that it's just you're conditioning. And like, I have a really hard time with that.
Yeah. So when it's used as like an excuse.
It's used as an excuse. I hate excuses. I hate laziness. I hate being able to like cave into something because of that. I really appreciated this last part because it confirmed what I believe, I guess, which is you can accept the thoughts, And then maybe it's when you have that moment. Like, I think the one I could relate with is like, I'm going to call it quits.
Yeah.
Or, I'm going to go to my car right now. I'm going to take a break, or just going to end a little bit early today. I definitely have had those thoughts.
And
most of the
I've done that.
Most of the times I just follow through with it.
Yep.
I think that's the one that I connected with the most, where it's like I worked all day, but I just had a couple really bad experiences. So, I think I tried hard today, and so I'm going to go home. Just before I accept that thought as reality, taking like that 1 second, that 20 seconds, like there's the one movie, you just need 20 seconds of courage, to like do something crazy. Like, I just need 20 seconds to just like, okay, before I may accept this as truth, I'm just going to look up to the sky, and I'm just going to like stare at there for a second and say, what am I feeling? Oh, that's interesting. I mean, it's like, does this align with my why?
Yeah.
I think that's what I like.
Yeah. What's my brain telling me?
That's my brain telling me, does this align with my why?
Totally.
And then once you accept whether that does or does not, it probably doesn't in most cases, then it helps you understand, like, then you can be the agent and being like, well, I choose to align with my why, not with what my brain is telling me. And then just that was it.
Good.
That was the throwdown I needed. That
connected.
That really connected.
Well,
So,
I'm glad, dude. And one thing I want to offer too is that every time we practice this, we are letting go of that reactive part of us. Like, little by little, the energy and attention and like worship, honestly, that we used to give it are now shifting to a deeper level, where we're more connected with that soul level that is looking at life going, what is aligned with me living the best possible life that I can, with serving as much as I can, right? And less on that level that's all about survival, my self-interest, my comfort, my pleasure. Like, it's just, nothing's wrong with that. We're meant to experience it, is my view. Why else would we have it? But my view is also that we're not meant to let it dictate everything we do. And you look in all the sacred texts, it's wild how all that stuff shows up. Like, you can't serve God and man, right? Interesting. Like an internal level, right? So I would just say to anyone that would maybe like you, that's like, I'm a high performer. The idea of kind of pausing throughout the day is tough. I'd say find the way that works for you. My personal view that I'd offer, if you're open to it, is, I guess the way I look at it is like, is there any way that having a little more connection to my soul would hurt my performance or hurt my connection with people? Is there any way that would like not be helpful? I haven't found a way that it's unhelpful. What I offer is that even as a high performer, hardcore work ethic, and I would say, by the way, don't take my word for it. Try it out as an experiment. That's what I always tell you guys. I never say, don't just do this blindly. Like, do it as an experiment for a week, few weeks. My clients, I do it for 30 days, right? And so I would say to you, like, set a designated amount of time, try it. See what it's like to have a timer going off and then take a 1 to 2 minute pause. And if it doesn't work, then scrap it, right? After your experiment. But I think what you might find is that you'll notice feeling more present, just more in your body, because hardcore work ethic focus is amazing, but we can get a little stuck in our head, and you can start to just kind of go through the motions. It's easy to start relating to people as objects rather than people. But when you're connected on that soul level, you're also connected to your why. You're connected to, hey, yeah, I'd love to make a sale. I'd love to give them a service, but also like, this is a human being. I just wish them well. If there's anything that happens in this interaction, it's that I leave them better than I found them, right? I just think that is a little harder to maintain. I'm speaking for myself, right? You might be on a totally different level than I've tapped into, but for me, I find that when I take these little pauses, it's almost supercharging the next hour, right? So, okay, 2 minutes out of my hour are dedicated to stillness, so that the next 58, I'm supercharged with presence, being less bothered by my emotions. So I'd say experiment with it.
Yeah.
See if it makes a difference.
I love it. I can do that for sure. So we've had an awesome chat. I'm just seeing how long we've been talking. We talked for almost an hour. That was awesome.
Whoa,
dude, we're flying. We're flying. Dude, let's we can wrap this up, but I think that was awesome. I appreciate the steps that you gave at the end there. Just kind of like, what's the steps? That was perfect. It's like pre and post game, and then the 1 to 2 minute. Yeah. And then I would just add for maybe somebody, it might just be 20 seconds. Like, whatever works, enough time to just realign.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
That's totally what it feels like.
It's kind of like we're just realigning ourselves. You know, my brain and me, I'm just getting it back in tune.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, ready to move on. And then anytime I have the thing the nugget for me today was those moments when I'm wanting to quit early, or I'm just something like hops into my brain of like, this sucks, or like something negative, mostly quitting, right? It's like if I have any kind of like a quit or take a break, or I don't want to knock anymore, I just want to use that alignment, especially in those moments of like, okay, let's just think for a second. Like, that's interesting that my brain is telling me that.
Yeah.
Does that align with my why? No. Or yes. Most likely not. And so, no, okay, well, you know what? I'm not going to allow what the brain is trying to tell me. It's cool that I'm able to experience this and recognize it, and being
conditioning.
appreciate it, being like, wow, it's cool that I can take a step back and recognize that this is happening. And then I'm going to be the one who makes the decision, not because I'm just conditioned, because that's my conditioning, is just keep working.
Yeah.
That's just my conditioning. No excuse. You keep working. And then whenever I do break that conditioning, you know, I feel guilty.
Which is also your conditioning. I'm a failure when I don't
feel like I really, you know, I quit before somebody else quit. It's like, oh man, you're a pansy, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
which is also your conditioning.
Yeah, it's like,
and so it's not wrong.
Should have kept knocking. If somebody else is still out there knocking, like, you're supposed to be you're the leader, you're the example. You're supposed to be knocking more than anybody else, right? That's my mindset. But it's just like, even in that moment, just like pull it back, just like, that's interesting. I'm thinking that right now. I mean, does that truly align with my why? Like, why am I here? Was I successful today? Did I hit, you know, goals that I had? Was I a good leader and example still today? And like, yes, it's like, okay, you know what? It's okay if I go home right now.
Yeah.
Like
it's
not the end of the world. It's not going to change me.
Yes. See, I love you brought balance back into this, right? Because someone listening before could have thought we're saying there's never a time for breaks. There's never a time for any of this. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is tune into a deeper level.
Yeah.
So you can live from your inner wisdom instead of your conditioning. Your conditioning might say, keep working hard or quit. Don't listen to any of it. If you keep working hard or if you go home early, either one's great with me. But what I want to know is who made that decision. Did your brain or did you? Why did you? You just tapped into that level. I'm really glad you did.
I did. I'm glad I did too. So it was good. I appreciated we'll definitely call this wisdom. It was wisdom speaking today, not just your typical out of the book like conversation. This is like deeper topic stuff.
Love it, man.
Appreciate you. Again, hit us up with I know you had your website that you were working on. I saw you had your Instagram.
Yeah. So I've been trying to post a little more on Instagram, but tell me I have to.
Just do a quick shout out to that.
Yeah. So I think if anyone would like to get in touch with me, that's probably the best way, actually, would be Instagram. So go look up Optimal Sales Mindset on Instagram, or you can look up my name, Stratton W. Nielsen, and shoot me a DM on there. And I have tons of different ways that I love to help reps.
Love it. Dude, you're a stud. I'm so glad you came again. So we'll do it again soon. So we'll see it.
You get 10 seconds to experience what it's like to be in a human body on Earth. Okay. You don't get to choose what that 10 seconds will be like. Maybe it'll be super awesome and like euphoric. Maybe it'll be like down in the dumps, but do you still want it? And you're like, yeah, I want it. I want to know what 10 seconds is like. You're like, are you sure? Yeah. Okay. Boom. Let's imagine you drop into that place, right? Don't you think your experience of those thoughts and emotions would be a little different?
Yeah. Like, it'd be exciting. It'd be like, what in the heck is like these emotions that they never really got to experience before? Yeah.
It would just be it'd just be like, in other words, you would appreciate it. That's changing your relationship with your mind.